on the agenda. Okay, great. Let's go into discussion items. Sledding and s'mores dates. And what you put in, Rachel, is from last year, 2023.
Correct.
Okay. So are we thinking January and February, 2 dates in each again?
Yeah, I can't remember if last year we tried, and someone can probably tell me if we tried for December and they were canceled. For some reason, I vaguely remember that.
There were a lot there.
I
Okay.
don't think we did
Because
December.
there was
I
either
think-
no snow or it was a blizzard, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we just did January, February. So it looks like we did what, 2nd and 4th. Should we see what those dates look like?
That'd be the 11th and 25th.
Does that ring any bells?
January 11th and December.
Did that ring any bells with the school calendar?
I have the school calendar on my phone and there's nothing.
Can we mark Karen here now, please, Rachel? Okay,
Thank you.
Are you?
And I'll look. I believe last year we had ours not aligned with Ice Fest. But I will check that. I think we did that on purpose, so,
Right.
once DDA has finalized their Ice Fest date, I'll make sure that we're not.
they're in February.
Yeah, that's in
Yeah, it's
February.
in-
Maggie, what would the February dates be?
It would be the 8th and the 22nd. And President's Weekend is the weekend of the 15th, so it might be nice to stagger it with that.
Yeah,
Mhm. I think Ice Fest has the same idea. So not, yeah, it wouldn't be a tragedy. We'll just make sure we have all the dates.
and did we have hours on that?
4 to 6.
I-
I think that's a good time still.
Yeah,
Always the time people are looking for something to do.
that was a really cute flyer. I don't know if we would use it again.
Yeah, it's saved. We can use it again. And then I personally didn't feel like we had to add anything to the events.
Just means that. Just like get a boom box. Period on your shoulder.
I don't think we need to talk about anything else about it yet.
No.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
great. Let's move on then to Fall Fest.
I gave the flyer to our secretary and she's putting it in the elementary one. Do you want me to get it to the middle school?
Yes.
Okay, do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I think, what can we call promotions or?
Okay.
Yeah, you guys are gonna kind of run with it. Yeah.
I do want to let everyone know that the outfitter reached out, Josh, and the outfitter in Birch Tree Bakery and Cafe are interested in adding a 1 mile fun run to the event. They'll do everything for it. It'll start at the marina, run down Bay. And then Birch Tree Bakery is gonna have pumpkin rolls at the end. So I kind of just gave them the go ahead. I apologize.
I think
I
that's
just
great.
reach out and kind of get an answer so we can start marketing for it. So those ads, I did add that in, and those went to the Harbor Light this week as well to run next week and then the week before the event.
Will the run take place at the beginning of the?
11:30 is what they're looking for
When are the flyers available for me?
tomorrow. I haven't written those out, so I won't remember.
And Rachel, you're all over the usual social media, Harbor Light.
Yep, I did a social media, I think it was Monday, yesterday. Yes.
Yeah,
And,
it was on Facebook.
yeah, and we can kind of go through the to-do list. I don't think there's gonna be too much discussion. Like I said, it's the 4th year, so we kind of have it down. Jamie has ordered the 200 donuts. I have it on my list to call Johan's tomorrow and pay Clayton.
I'll pick them up.
Yep, I spoke to Scott at Harbor Market and he is willing again to kindly donate apples to the event. The apples will be cleaned at the New York the day before. Jamie's already on that. Actually it's gonna be 250 straw bales. Those are gonna come from Justin Tippett. We've usually changed yearly, but we kind of made an agreement with Tippett that he was willing to do it every year. It's kind of a lot of work for him. DPW will pick him up the Wednesday or the Thursday before the event. So that's all set up.
Anything on the slide?
I'll have to talk to Lucas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then pumpkins, Bill's Farm Market called us. So that's all set. We did 200 for pie painting, a box of small for the tables, 15 carving, and then 2 big ones. I think we like the big ones for like photo ops, things like that.
Yep.
The band is confirmed, Sunshine String Band. Like last year, I think we were all happy with that.
So we do not have a tractor this year?
We do have a
Oh, we
tractor.
do, we do.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
confirmed through DPW. The corn stalks are confirmed through Bill's Farm Market. Maggie's working on Mom's, get those from Meyer.
Yeah, what about
Anywhere.
we usually have flowers by the photo op at the.
Yep.
So,
Yep, those will be the moms.
okay,
How many do you want?
I think we did 6 last year.
Like 6 big ones?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. And then marketing, I'll put it on the city website, social media is already out, the chamber has it, schools are going to have it, or do have it. Scott's got the flyers tomorrow, I already sent it to the paper, and Dana's working on yard signs.
And I had 2 other things. Are
Yeah.
we done then? Or,
There's still a couple more, but was
Okay,
it
go
about
ahead. No,
marketing?
go
Okay.
ahead.
I forgot where I was at. Oh, the tractor is confirmed. Sophia was wonderful and found us volunteers, right?
Well, I
Working
was-
on,
Yes, I have 12 volunteers. They're wondering though, last year we had them get there earlier, remember, but I was told 12 or 11 to. Do you want them there earlier? Cause I feel like there was
yeah,
quite a
I
bit of
think
setting up.
10:30
to do.
is what we did
No, we
last
have
year,
to
yeah,
buy
cause
the
the
donuts
event's at
out.
11. So I'll connect with you. Also, wasn't it last year homecoming?
So this,
Oh, it doesn't affect homecoming this year.
no, cause October 5th, our homecoming is the 28th.
Okay, I just remember everyone like running for homecoming after the event.
What? I think that was something different.
Okay.
This one, there is an SAT on that Saturday that I will be at.
Okay. I
So
remember you
I'll
said
be a little late.
that. No worries.
Then
Then the fireworks. Solo stoves, that's Maggie and Dana working on that.
So my friend's dad like cuts it down to the solo stove size and bundles it like as
Great.
a fun.
Do you want to just handle it?
Bob Bogart.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he'll donate it.
That's really nice.
And then the rest is just kind of the odds and ends of things that we needed to bring.
Loretta confirmed the weenie wagon.
Um,
Rachel, where's the fun run gonna be? Where it
It's
starts?
gonna start at the marina and run down Bay. It's gonna be approximately a mile and it's gonna be a loose timed, I mean, the outfitter always does the fun run, so,
So out and back,
yep.
okay.
And are they gonna talk to Kyle or?
Yeah, I'll figure all that out.
And then coffee and cider, so this was a question I had, shall we then have a parks table? And we'll do coffee and cider, and then I'm getting the poster boards made up with a parks wish list and, our projects, right?
And I think I sent all that to you already, correct? For the most part, do you have what you need? You can
Yeah.
back tomorrow and just let me know.
Yeah, let's talk. Okay. Are we gonna do donuts or anything at the parks table or no?
I think between the run, the pumpkin rolls and the donuts at the, have a work for. sweet. I know, like, run a mile, do a competition.
I had one more idea.
Yeah.
If, you know, we don't really have a fundraising aspect to this. Like, can we think of some way to make some money? You know, we don't charge anything for it. Like, would we sell raffle tickets for something? Like, could we?
No raffle tickets, I wanna say you need a special license for.
Just ask for donations for attendance.
Yeah,
I think we talked about doing donations for coffee and cider. It was all.
Yeah, we
three.
said like a suggested
suggest, yeah,
$1 donation.
$100.
Yes.
$100.
Really engrave your name into your styrofoam cup.
So you can bring the money box or whatever.
I did speak to Nick about the parks budget. And we're way under, not way under, but we're under budget for the season. Which is actually fairly impressive, go us, for all the projects we've done. So we're not gonna do a sponsorship for the event, and we're definitely okay for sledding and s'mores for the rest of the year.
Do we want to discuss, like a captain for each activity or something, one of the board
We can
members?
do that. at the
Yeah,
event,
okay, yep. Got it.
Any other questions? Are we still, does the committee still want to meet October first? I have that,
I think I.
right, that is Harbor Stars, just
um,
so everyone's aware, so if we do need to change it for any reason, let us know, but I don't think it's gonna be a very long meeting, and so I'll just keep that on my calendar.
Rachel, I'm sorry, I can't be there, but I'll be the other side of the world.
I guess.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Everybody else can be at All Fest, board members.
Well, we'll be
I work.
shuffling,
Yeah.
kids.
I come after work, but not.
Yeah.
Happy though, right?
Yeah, we can send a email out to our volunteer list
Yeah.
as well.
That would be
So,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, Nancy and Gail. Okay, is that enough on Fall Fest for right now?
I'm comfortable.
Who brought some boardwalk fundraising ideas?
Me.
I did too. You go first. What you got?
I was scrambling, writing a list before, and I'm just like throwing these things out here.
Right,
A park-wide scavenger hunt with like some bitty, like pretty big prizes at them to motivate people to go through it, and it can be in all the parks.
and how does that raise money?
People have to buy tickets. But
So would we have like,
Yes,
like an
exactly.
event and then from the event they would go out or they'd
yeah,
go
so
out?
like we could all meet together, they have to buy their ticket to get in. And they're gonna get their clues, and it's gonna be like a race to get to the clues,
Oh,
like a road rally, like Sarah's kind of saying. And
like
so
that.
there'll be, and like, we could put like hidden prizes at different locations, I mean, like $100 gift certificates, stuff that are like gonna entice people to come.
Mhm.
This is like, I'm like spitballing at 3:30 today, so
No.
it's all just very loose. A winter carnival tied to the Ice Fest with some activities and things that people pay for. A concert at Ottawa Stadium, which I know we've talked about in our plans, but maybe we could get a decent band that people know about. And then I don't know if we've talked about this before, but have we asked people to like buy a step of the boardwalk?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was on there. And then obviously we could do the usual, like a gala with a theme. So those were my ideas.
Okay, who else has some?
So, I'm not sure when we did it, but when we talked with the pier. And we were gonna have an event at the pier, but it ended up, not getting enough interest. So I reached out to Jelly Roll Blues Band because I think from what I can observe, they bring people in. So I think, I already have the 30 or 35 silent auction donations, and I'm sure I can gather more. And then I spoke with Jelly Roll, and the cost of Jelly Roll is not so high that we couldn't find a donor who would pay for that.
Would
And-
they be at the pier?
Well, I think, now the pier has new ownership, and I don't know if they have new management or not, but I think we, go back and talk about it like we had planned before. Where there would be, a price for the ticket, and it would be different food stations, and then a dance floor and Jelly Roll. They get 500 to 1,000 people that come in Marina Park. And in the winter, you'll get locals. Now, are you gonna get, big donations? That's,
Yeah,
that's one of the issues.
and if we did it at the holidays, I think the pier wouldn't want to do it because it would be taking dinners.
But
dinners.
when did we do it at the New York, on December 15th, a Friday? Jamie, you remember?
Yeah, it was really close to Christmas.
Yeah, it was, I
It
think,
was within 2 weeks.
it was like December 15th on a Friday when we did it at the New York. So, all we can do is approach the pier again and talk to them. And Jelly Roll, they said they'll play for 3 hours for $1,200. So I don't think it's outrageous if you get 500 people to come in. And, open bar, the pier will do business with the open bar. And then if we charge $50 a ticket, you know, and they charge us 30 for food or whatever. We'll make some money, or
They charged $100.
I think it was 100,
it
yeah.
was 100. A lot of them snuck in too.
I think it was 50-50 was, yeah.
The venue, that might work. But we have to think about the timing when we're gonna have enough people around that could actually contribute, and that would be nuts.
Oh,
And
that
I
is
mean,
a
sure,
fun
that
place.
would be.
They've got the
a
stage
place
now,
Charlie
too.
Rose would play. I don't know, what is our timeline? How late can we do this? Can we wait until late spring, early summer, or what is our timing on this?
We really have a time. I mean, the city's been talking about the boardwalk for quite a while, and we have the first portion done. I'd like to have it off of our plate personally, so
What
the
if, what
sooner
if
the
we
better.
had a welcome back thing, late spring, early summer, and then Nubs wouldn't be busy,
Right.
you know, like, as opposed to doing it in the winter.
I mean,
Or we
that's
could do
always,
it at Christmas time.
well, I mean, they're gonna be, right, you know, really, getting ready for ski, you know, summer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on out there in December. But if we can wait until people are starting to arrive, because that's where we're gonna get our bigger donations. I'm happy to talk to Elise
Mhm.
Fisher about it. And I would, you know, see what she says. I mean, we've
I
had
think that's
graduation
really
parties
fun.
and,
Yeah,
yeah.
but the Petoskey Harbor Community Foundation just did their annual meeting there. and
That
they
was
had the
really
Bar
nice,
right
yeah.
outside, and stage and tables, and I mean, we can make it look nice too, with tablecloths and flowers.
It would be, you know, fun to make it a, you know, they have the outdoor deck set up for music now.
Mhm.
And so depending on if it was summer, you know, they can play music out in the big deck.
How do they work the food part of it?
They cater, they have catering, done a couple graduation.
Because they do
parties
like
there.
a summer concert series,
Yeah,
and it's always catered, and they have the food right outside, and
Well, Nubs caters it,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
he does great ribs.
And there's an open bar then.
well, yeah.
Or you
would
had
find-
cash,
cash bar.
cash
Cash
bar.
bar.
Yeah, and we can, like, you can pick and choose what you want them to serve too, like, we can just say just beer and wine or whatever.
I really
Take
like
some
that
money.
idea. And then we do have other things to fundraise for, so maybe, the wheelway could be a fun one to do, you know, the scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
I really like that one too.
Kind of like the scavenger hunt idea for Parks and Rec Month in July. Like
Mhm.
an event for Parks and Rec Month in July, that'd be cool to get everyone out in all of our parks.
Like the outfitter does that, you know, like they
Yeah.
hide things on the trails, and it's like, we can hide things in the parks and
Right.
set it up like with clues and.
I think that's so fun. Well, what if, okay, so what if we did something like that in July? And then, what if we did it at Kiwanis and it could be a fundraiser for Kiwanis? I met up
Kiwanis
there
would be a
today
good
with,
place.
Mark Boudet and Tim Knudsen from Beckett and Raider. And we came up with all sorts of ideas and Mark kept saying, nope, nope, too expensive. But he said, if you guys can get some more money to work with, like a fireplace. Yeah. Okay, so are these program things then that we might have the committee talk about, or are you guys?
If we're planning an event, I was like, if it's like late spring, early summer, July, we could definitely help with that.
Uh-huh.
Plenty of that
What committee are you talking about?
program.
Oh,
Program
program
events.
committee.
Yeah.
So we'll pass those ideas along to the committee and we can discuss probably real quick October 1st, just pick other dates we want to meet leading up to
Do
it.
we want to say maybe June for the thing at Nubs then, so these guys are done with school?
Yeah,
That'd be good.
at least late June.
Well, if you want to give me approximate dates, I'm happy to talk to Elise.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they
Ask her about,
probably,
how she feels about late June.
yeah, because they'll have their concerts, but those are usually like on Wednesdays.
What's that?
Their concerts that the
Yeah.
Nubs does.
And they may not have started.
Yeah.
By then,
Yeah.
anyway.
Really good ideas.
I like the fact that Jolly Rolls could be part of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a reasonable price and I think
Yeah.
that it's easy for us to find a sponsor for that amount.
And you already have some silent auction, yes. That's what
Yeah, I
you
have
pay
all
for
those.
silent auction.
I'm in my office.
Yeah, and we can all help get more too.
Yep.
we got a little bit of time, but let's start, maybe putting it on the calendar to talk about everything and we'll be ready when it comes. Okay, should we move on to Shea Park? So everybody has a handout and this is, kind of our working plan that we've been talking about. I highlighted the circulation in the park. Again, some of the things we've talked about is we don't want it to look like we're just plunking a bunch of stuff in there, Shea stuff in the park. So, I like the idea of the little curved sidewalk between the two things. Maybe have like an interpretation, sort of little welcome garden area, down in the corner. Judd and Bay Street. What's new is, Mr. Demmer, who is building the house next door, has, come to us, with an opportunity where he would build some stairs down into the park as a way, to get from up above to his place as well as, for residents or visitors to get into the park. And then he's also willing to do the sidewalk to the AHA, which isn't very much. I did move it over a little bit. I don't really see people coming in. I went over there today.
Do you mind if I give a little?
Yeah, why
A
don't you
little
go
bit more background.
Yes.
So, the Denver property is in the northeast corner. Is that house that was pretty much torn down and it's being rebuilt. Right now, they do have approval, but steps down to their property. It's not in the park, but there is a plan that's currently approved. So basically it would be, and Fred is here and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but what's approved right now is steps going down and then there's a concrete wall on their property, ready to go. After review, the thought was it would be nice to have some landscaping buffer, some flowers, things like that, so it's not concrete on top of concrete. So the Demmers approached the city, specifically myself and Victor, and it had to go to council, it did last night, to say, to do this and create a buffer, we're gonna have to push the steps into public property, onto the park's property. So what they're asking to do is on the northeast corner, come off Main Street and have steps come into the park that are public. And then they're willing to pay for a path to go to the AHA. And then they would have stepping stones off the other side going east to their gate. So they could also use it to access their private property. Is anyone confused by that? I have some visuals I can pull up from council if need be.
Might be helpful to see
Yeah.
handles, but
Absolutely.
Their plan that they were proposing has the steps coming down, much closer to their property, further to the east.
and still in the corner of Main in their property, or is it further?
No,
south?
it's east, well, the steps would be closer to their house that they're building.
Yeah,
than
and
when
I'm
it's
wondering
down here.
At what part of the boundary line would they be? Right at the corner there of the property and?
Well,
It's
if
really
you-
obvious on the visual, I'll just find it.
I
Yeah.
have all the drawings of last night.
Okay.
If you want to-
Oh, here they are. So. And I don't know if Victor put in what's already approved. But this is what they're speaking of, so you can see. This would be the Demers property.
Do you want to point out the property line there, Rachel?
Yeah.
It's the black
The
line.
black line.
Yeah, so you have the Demers property, right? Then it's proposed landscaping. As a buffer, and then steps, this is Main Street, steps coming down that hill from Main Street.
Steps or not a sidewalk?
No,
that's
it's
the
a pretty
property, okay.
steep, yeah, and then a pathway, and again, like the pathway can be curved, whatever, we're not looking at details at the moment. And then stepping stones to their gate to get to their private property. And council, like, and the Demers have a contract with the city about property lines and all that, so it had to go to council to get the okay to even come to Parks Board or the Planning Commission to go into the details of it, and they did give the okay last night to move forward and discuss options.
Rachel, can you go back to that drawing?
Which one?
The one that you were just on?
Yes.
Is that where the steps are and then like the hedge that's coming down? Is that there?
The hedge is existing.
Okay, and then one, the lower, that maybe those are shrubs? I can't see that part, existing. Oh,
You want to
existing.
point it? Okay, there you go.
That already
Correct,
belongs to them.
correct.
But that belongs to city park.
It's city, so. Long dragged out story. Yes, technically, some of their landscaping is already on city property, and that was a council discussion years ago, and that's how the contract came to be. But to alter that, but putting the steps in alters that contract.
What does it mean? What do you mean by alters it? Just
It
allows-
changes it because it's technically not landscaping. They show it differently. So to put the steps in, the Demers had to go to council and ask permission to move forward.
The steps would belong to the city or the steps would
The
belong?
steps belong to the city. Yes, the Demers will pay for the steps and the pathway to the property belongs to the city.
The steps are only for the purpose of Demers being able to access their own property from the park or down into the
The
property.
steps arguably could be considered public, so they're gonna look like public steps coming off Main Street. Yeah.
Coming out Main Street.
Correct, yes, yeah, the steps are gonna come off Main Street, they're gonna look like public steps, and then there's gonna be a proposed stone path, that's what they've
So
proposed to
they
get
just
to
wanna be
there.
able to access their
Correct.
property from Shea Park.
Can I,
Yeah.
may I interrupt? I'm sorry, I'm Fred Wallen, architect on the Demerson property. The steps are, it's kind of odd from last night because I think there's a lot of confusion about what the steps that you're talking about aren't required at the drawing because the Demers will be able to go from down below up onto, that's a living roof, you know, that concrete
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
up front of there. So that's a living roof, but it's on the east side.
Mhm.
So this, in no way, the Demers are trying to do something nice for the park, but it's absolutely not necessary for access for them at all.
Right.
So I want to make that really clear because last night was a little confusing.
Yeah,
You know, so this stair system, which our landscape architect drew in there is totally up for discussion. I mean, we're not advocating anything to do this. Well, what's important to me as a designer is the place where the big tree is, because that's city land and it kind of looks like a blight now, you know, and it's yours, but the Demers are proposing to landscape that up, take care of it, irrigate it. And it's right where the tree is. It's almost on this drawing up here, right in the corner up there. And that to me is the most important thing because if you have further drawings of the side of the building, the elevation, there we go. That's kind of the way it is now. And you can see where the old steps come down, and that's the end of the hedge. And then the next one is very elaborate, but to soften it all from Shea Park. So that's,
Give them more privacy, basically.
yeah, I'm just basically, and there's the steps there, but again, the steps aren't to get to Demers property, they're more for you guys.
Yeah,
And that's what I wanted to come here and just say,
they're
we're here
public
to
steps,
help.
the steps are approved, they're putting steps in, no matter whether they go the way it's already approved or they go. What the Demers are saying is, we can make these more aesthetically pleasing, basically,
Well,
with the buffer.
because the steps are not on that side, they're on
Correct.
the other side. of
Yeah, on the
building,
other
so-
side of the
Yeah,
building.
they're on
So
the-
they're not gonna go
Yeah.
to the Demers house at all.
Yeah,
They'll have to take, they would have to go down the steps and take a left and then access their gate to get onto their property. So they're gonna look like public steps, and they're also, I spoke to Ed Dummer, and he was willing, you can see here the railing on Main Street, that old style rail, he's willing to match that. And make them look like they attach, well, I mean, they will attach, but, so it looks cohesive.
I have another question for you, Fred. So the steps mainly then in his mind are to do something nice for the city.
Right.
Correct. So, do they have to be stairs? Like, I mean, I think our priority is that sidewalk from the locomotive. And correct me if I'm wrong. The sidewalk from the locomotive to the, that's been what's been in our plan for a while.
I think
Yeah.
those steps are already happening, right?
No,
Well, on public property, it could be a discussion. I don't know what else we would do with that.
he's
Still
saying
there.
there's steps on the other side of the building, right?
Yeah, the steps are on the east side of the building. Well,
Yeah.
so to get from the living roof, that thing in front, down below to their back, it's on the other side. It has nothing to do with this side
Yeah.
whatsoever. And that's the confusion a little bit with this, but again, to me, it's just to be blunt, I mean, we priced out the steps that we drew there and the path to the AHA, and it's $24,000, you know, and if you guys don't want the steps, it's kind of nonsense to even go through that process.
Well, I guess
you
the
know,
question though is could the $24,000 instead be used for the walk that goes from the locomotive to the,
The Denvers are very generous people and it's there, they want to make the Shea Park look beautiful and they're, I know I'm not speaking out of school, that they'd love to help in any way possible. Yeah,
So if we say no to the steps on public property, they're not planning to build steps on that side of their house at all.
not at all.
So it would just be the plain brick wall that you basically see in the other.
Well, we're able, where the old steps come down now, we're able to landscape that.
Okay,
because
but
it's
not-
a step down and it's just landscaping
Right.
and we'll grow something on there.
Okay.
Maybe not as elaborate as Green showed in the
Mhm.
next slide, but we'll do something. But it is on, it's only 4 or 5 feet where the old stairwell was, but still the kind of blighted area, you know, where the dumpster is, and anybody's like down in there.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you know, it's yours. And the numbers are saying, gosh, can't we? They'll fix it up and irrigate it, take care of it, whatever.
so you're just mainly interested in the landscape.
Yeah, I certainly, I thought Ed tonight, he agrees with me. You know.
Well, we had talked about doing some stuff. on Main Street. I don't know why we wouldn't want to do this.
I think it'd be
Lovely.
great to be able to access the from Main Street instead of walking all the way around.
Yeah.
I agree.
think
I
it's really
didn't
lovely.
see, the only conversation I can see us having, it's a big discussion we had when we talked about the Shea site plan the first time. It's the hardscape. And this would require, steps can't go to grass. So there'll have to be a path that goes to the AHA, which I support. I think it should be there. I think an access from Main Street would be used.
Way more than.
Yes, probably more frequently than
Yeah.
Bay Street, arguably.
And I think with this landscape drawing, it looks like it would really enhance the east side of the park, the east side of the park.
But we could have a sign up at the top. I just think about like, you know, maybe this is just more a logistics thing with what order things happen in, but to have steps and then just a little short walk to the AHA. And that's it, without any connection to the locomotive.
But didn't the people from Shea say that they had more money for when they do the pavilion, they could also help connect the locomotive to
No.
in the
She
phase
said
two?
she would not.
She said she would not
Okay,
pay for
She
that.
said she could maybe donate benches or landscaping, but she was not interested in helping with the walking.
And I guess maybe that's what we should talk about is what,
Is this something that we could apply for the one of the DNR grants, because trails and anything that leads to the water is always a priority, and I don't remember which one.
Doesn't lead to the water.
It would
seems like a
connect,
kind of a stretch maybe.
I mean, but if we
No, regional
connect
trails.
to
this
the
could be
sidewalk, the
considered-
crosswalk.
This could be considered a pathway within a park. So DNR would be more regional trails. I'm not saying they wouldn't, you could apply for possibly a passport for the site plan we have to put the locomotive in and put a pathway. in, but I think it'd be a tough sell that attaches to the water, that's a regional trail in any way.
But
Although
we're
the steps
connecting
would
it
be-
to Ford Park with a crosswalk there, like,
That's a much bigger
I think
plan.
we probably have better luck with the community foundation.
I mean, there's urban trail money out there somewhere, isn't there? That's not
Yeah.
for DNR, and that would be something worth.
But if Fred is saying that it's 24,000 steps in and a pathway to the AHA, you can kind of guess what it would be from the locomotive to the AHA,
It'd probably be about that again.
I would assume.
But that doesn't include the steps.
Yeah, what
now.
would be the step?
No, steps included.
But
that half
you'd have to put in landscaping.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess probably evens out in the end.
steps.
So I have 2 points. I watched the meeting last night. I went to the park today and looked at things. And I have 2 concerns. One is if we give a private individual the rights to build a staircase on public property, all of the other parks that have neighbors, they can come to us and say, you know, I want to put a driveway there. Is that okay?
And we could say no.
So, I mean, I have concern that to give more access, we already have given it access to the park property, to the Demers, and to give more. I have concern, and then the other thing is, I also have concern about preserving green space. And they're talking about 7-foot wide cement steps.
I think the
May I say
discussion,
something, the Dimmers don't want to do that. I mean, they don't need the steps. I just want to make, this is a big misunderstanding. And that the Dimmers are not advocating for the steps, they're just saying, do you want to discuss it? And it's nothing, what we're really saying is just trees and bushes, really, and making what I call the area between their houses kind of a transitional space before you get to the Shea Park. It's only 15 feet of landscaping that goes in there. So, you know, I think you're misunderstanding that you're not letting the Dimmers do steps, you know, because we already have steps on the other side. So that's what we're asking is bushes and plants and trees and beautify, which happens all over town, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think more than some hardscapes got, you know what I mean?
Rachel, could you go back to the site plan with the
Yeah.
stepping stones?
real quick though, from a Parks Recreation Board standpoint, discussion should be green space and whether we want them or not. It's not, council talked about a contract yesterday. That was a
Yeah.
council decision. That discussion's over. In our book, that's over. We're talking about what we would
Does
like in
this
the
fit
park,
with our
yes.
plan? Yeah. So if Fred,
Locus of control though with the steps would be, like, it's public property,
Mhm.
right? It's not Demer steps, it's.
Yeah,
Demer's
yeah, they would be
steps, right?
public property, yes.
And then so we get some say in how and where, maybe the location, am I understanding that correctly?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So the donation is simply covered. So this isn't not necessarily steps, this is a donation of approximately X amount of money to enhance.
so Fred, is there, so there's no requirement that the stepping stones go to the Demers property? Like, for example, if we move it further to the west,
No.
you don't have to have stepping stones.
The gate is comes up for discussion, stuff that there's not even a need for a gate, go into the.
Yeah, I think there was a misunderstanding.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get across to, it really is.
And then within the park itself, we would have some input or some, perhaps working with you on a design that would allow us to use some of that money for the walkway we're talking about as well, perhaps.
Well,
A
yeah.
modification of steps or whatever it might be. That's a very generous
They've been
donation.
very generous over the years and, you know, anything they can do, it's their backyard, that way, and they want to help everything to them as great as possible. and Work well.
So I would
We had a
propose that
question.
we find a time to maybe work together with them and, you know, however we want to work it to kind of come up with a plan that might use that 24,000 along with the steps in a different kind of way. But I know Marie's got a question
Yeah.
back here.
Thank you. I'll just make a couple comments that I did have an opportunity to make some comments last night and I appreciate making the comments today. I live on East Third Street, my name is Marie Wayman, and I walk up and down Main Street frequently and have over the past 20-some years, and I've always looked at that property and thought, there's just such a barrier. We really should have a welcoming, beautiful stairway going from Main Street into the park. And now that we have two fabulous new features, the boat and the locomotive, we want people to come into the park. And more people walk on Main Street than on Bay Street. Bay Street is fine for people to enter the park, but there are a lot of people walking on Main Street and they have to figure out how to get in there. You go around or you go from Bay Street. I just would encourage you to think very seriously about adding a stairway from Main Street into the park. I think it would be a welcoming, beautiful feature for the city as people are driving into this. Just think about that, and they see this on their left, and it's encouraging and enticing for people to walk on. So I
And
would,
there's a sign that actually says Shea Park.
yeah.
Like a lot of people may not even realize that.
Right, so I would just encourage you to really keep in mind that opportunity, to have a stairway from Main Street down into the park. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yeah.
I think that's a really good point, because last meeting we talked about changing the, you know, what the park is. I mean, the park has been used as green space and, you know, yoga classes and other things like that, meetings. But if it becomes an historical park, which it can be, it's right across from Shea House. And we've got two pieces of history. And we can really make more out of it. That's its theme, it's history of Harbor Springs and Shea and what's happened in there. And we've talked about needing steps to come down from Main Street. And this is a wonderful opportunity to be able to do that and, you know, find a way to incorporate the other pathways we need to get to the locomotive.
I felt the same way. I mean, even we sit like right across the road there and watch the 4th of July parade every year, and nobody sits in that park on the busiest day of the year because there's a guardrail there basically. And I mean, this board has talked about how to get there from Main Street, and if we're being offered a free set of stairs, I don't think we should turn it down.
I do have a question, Fred, just for my own clarification. So I think the confusion came from this drawing. So I see the stairs in the park. I see the stones that are just, they're neither here nor there, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
then,
That was Marine kind of
Okay.
scribbling on paper.
and then I see an existing gate, but where are the stairs that are gonna go
Oh,
on this? I think that's where the confusion comes in, 'cause if you look at this, you see the park there, you see, and then you see the gate going on there. It's like I said, neither here nor there, it's for clarification, we understand.
Yeah,
That's okay.
I'm sorry, but, yeah, so this is I'll start and I'll walk around, if that's all right.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah, you see where we are, see this,
Okay,
this,
yeah,
that,
yep.
the steps are here.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you. That's where the,
Going more.
Let's see
Yeah.
if we can group around.
So
you know.
let's see, that's on the
Corner.
TV, the steps are here,
All right,
they're on the way on the other side of the entire structure.
right.
So you're not proposing those, but like a fence through the park, right?
No, we can landscape and soften all this.
So this will be on the park side of it. The fence would be over on the property
Yeah.
line.
There's no fence, it's all landscape.
Okay,
I mean, I
Step will
prefer
be-
it that way.
well, there was gonna be a gate or something.
No, that's just
Okay,
sort of,
perfect.
if this
Down the
went
way.
down, it would be a way that Marine was proposing for the people who kind of, there's probably got a private on the gate or something. I think it's kind of not. But the true stairs that they're using from here to go up, to get onto the living road here is on the completely other side.
Okay.
You got it? You
Yes.
got it? You're. got it.
For my part,
You want to see it?
I think it, and I'm not even sure I can articulate the reason, but not to stuff the stairs way over on the, I think it's nicer to.
and they were open to discussing all of
Yes.
that. Yeah, right,
Moving
they were, we put stones to their,
So what
Yeah,
decision
whatever's
do
there.
we need to be making?
So we need to decide, all I need to know from you all tonight is, are we comfortable continuing this conversation? Are we comfortable with hardscape going back? I know that was a discussion in our last hardscape. And this does create hardscape, so I didn't feel comfortable continuing the conversation until we had more of a plan, because that and trees were the two red flags we spoke about the most.
Yeah.
So
So maybe do we need a little subcommittee to talk further with, with parties to be about this?
I feel comfortable speaking
As a whole group?
to as a whole group and to the Demers about it. They seemed open to possibilities, things like that. Just didn't want to continue the conversation if the Parks Board was not interested. Like, there was no reason to move forward.
Well, step down.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, and what I'm wondering too is, let's say instead of 7-foot wide steps, we had 4-foot wide steps. And we're not gonna have to go as far with the sidewalk to the AHA, so could we use the narrower stairs and the sidewalk that we're not needing to extend it down to the locomotive?
Why do we want arrows?
Well, I'm just thinking if we can find a way to take that $24,000 and stretch it so that we can also accomplish this, because I think it's gonna be just kind of weird to have the steps and then a short little thing to the AHA.
But this is all stuff that we can discuss down
It'll
the road.
probably all be done around the same time. The Demers weren't in a rush. I do have one more question for you, sorry.
Sure.
Let's say for any unforeseen reason this didn't get approved. If the image is up there right now, what would happen? Moving forward?
There's kind of two, you mean the steps, if the
Correct.
steps aren't approved.
Correct, the steps were not improved in the park with this, what's already approved.
Frankly, the Demers would rather use the landscape,
Okay.
use the money on the landscaping part to soften up the side of the building.
Okay.
Which they're gonna do anyway,
Right,
Okay. And then this number, which I maybe shouldn't have spouted out there, but that's a very generic sort of sidewalk number
Right.
done by a flatscape guy, and it's not pretty, it's like a sidewalk, which I don't think you wanna do, right?
No.
Wanna make it look, and the stairs are 7 feet wide, that's
It's really wide, yeah.
really wide. So I think there's a lot of collaboration that could happen. And Marine's a great landscape architect,
Yeah.
and I think that's another thing that's kind of an asset that I'm trying to, we're here to help, with drawings, love to help.
Wonderful, I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Pursue this.
So I-
Go forward with
I
this.
think the next steps be for us to take a roll call vote tonight.
Mhm.
On moving forward or not moving forward. And then I would work with the Demers on a more concrete design that meshes with Deanna's design we already have. So that we can completely finalize the Shea Park site plan.
John has a comment.
Oh, yeah.
No, John Wayland, spouse 3 weeks. That we've been in the same place. We've been using the Shea Park since our kids, and now our kids use it. And we walked up and down Main Street. And Dan, I've got a question for you. What is this dark green line that's proposed?
It's a little hedge, just a way to visually tie the two pieces together. The idea was that we would have interpretive signage along that walkway.
I would encourage you to allow an opening there, because a lot of people, including the Waynes, jaywalk to get into the park, and would be walking into the park through the trees and on the grass.
Okay,
So I would think about opening that up. So I would encourage you to center the stairway as much as you can and reasonably make it as wide as you can, because I think that's the invitation for people driving into town to come into the park and people walking. And I would also encourage you to not design the cement walkways around now. Find out what the traffic patterns actually are. And Our children and our grandchildren spend a lot of time rolling around in that grass. And I think it may very well be that people would prefer to walk on grass than on cement. So I would limit as much as you can the amount of cement that you're going to do now. It may turn out in 2 or 3 years, yeah, maybe you should, but let it live a little bit first before you make any hard decisions that are hard to break up and move out of the park. Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess just one thing that I'd like to add to that discussion is that we have had a number of complaints from people about stuff just getting plunked in the park. And what are we planning to tie them together with?
I didn't hear you. Wait about what?
We've had a lot of complaints about people saying like, why are you letting these things just get plunked in the park without any context or any, sense of a whole or, so that's the thought between tying them together with vegetation and then also with a walkway.
Now, when the locomotive was taken to the planning commission, that was a request of theirs, was a site plan for connecting the pieces. So if we can connect the pieces with as little walkway as possible at this time, and then we can in phases if needed.
We can accommodate jaywalkers.
Yeah.
Are you planning on picnic tables and
Absolutely.
picnic tables under trees and stuff?
Yeah. And which was another whole discussion, what you see on here. I don't think we ever resolved trees, like. Folks were not keen on having trees except at the perimeter. Other folks like the idea of trees to, kind of highlight and then also shade certain areas.
Recommendation would be let's solidify the pathway
Yeah,
and then solidify, because we're gonna take some of those trees out and then we'll focus on where trees can happen in phase, a lot of things can do with trees. So that could probably be a later, and you don't know where to plant them if you don't know where the pathway is, so there's that. too.
well, there's a lot of other things too that aren't shown specifically on this. This is a more general concept plan, but we had discussed doing some type of fun playscape that would involve logs and the logging industry. That was very important in Harbor Springs. Or the waterworks.
I think that when we come back to discuss it again, it would be nice to have options because that's something that we sometimes don't always have multiple options to choose from.
Options for the path or options for?
Options
all
for
of it?
both.
Okay, yeah,
Like-
like options for site plans, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I also just want to make a point on the trees, and I do agree, let's minimize, we have to phase it in. I think view is really important, I think. John and Marie, you walk by it all the time. And Harbor Springs view is really important. We talk about it all the time at Harbor Commission, view. So we don't want to lose the view because of the trees. So it's a chance for view from the top end of the park. Maybe it starts with the steps, but I'm glad we're just gonna phase in the tree discussion for later.
Yeah.
So you need a motion to approve the hardscape and steps for Main Street, is that what?
Yeah, I need a motion to move forward.
The decision about.
Trying to not make it wordy. So a motion to move forward for steps to go into Shea Park off Main Street.
So I'll make a motion to move forward with discussions about hardscapes and steps from Main Street.
I second that. But
All
did
those-
city council already say that they approved the steps?
No.
They approved it for us to talk.
Okay.
Okay,
good.
all those in favor?
Let's do a roll call.
Okay.
Just do it. Let's do a roll call. Make it clean.
You'll be the first.
Right, yeah. All right,
Yes.
Karen Stroud, thank you. Gary,
Yes.
Dan
Yes.
Mulder, everything.
Yes.
Maggie Plus, David Melvin.
Yes.
You can say, how do you feel?
Yes.
No, but, okay.
Okay, the motion passes.
What about the landscape?
Huh?
What about the landscaping piece and that area? Would that take a separate motion?
Maybe.
No.
I make a motion to approve the landscape, I make a motion to approve discussion with Rachel about landscape.
And figure it out.
Appreciate
As a
it.
modification.
And
of
would
the
you
motion?
come back to Parks Board with what the recommendation is before it
Yes,
just gets implemented?
Yeah.
Yep, okay,
Well,
likely have to go
that'll
back.
have to go back to council.
yeah.
We
I
didn't
think-
approve of anything,
yes.
council levels. This will all have to go back to council before
Don't,
But would they not
No.
come back to
I
us
think that's
first?
what planning.
and back to council. If we didn't approve of the donation.
Oh, yeah.
So did Sarah just modify her, motion, adding the landscaping, or is it
All
the second
the-
motion?
We just need to make.
Did she
No,
just
we-
modify her?
Yeah, we
original
had
motion?
modified
Okay.
it, yeah, to add the landscape.
All that we approved yesterday was for Parks and Planning Commission to take a look at this.
Yeah.
And then to bring it back to us before we make the agreement, so.
Understood.
I think we have to double check that. Just in case. Just double check, cause I wanna know when I go speak to the Demers exactly what the course of action is. So if we're confused on whether it's the planning commission and council, I'd like that to be very
Yeah.
concrete.
Well, if that is necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
So I'll speak to Victor when he gets back from vacation. Figure out the process,
So we're good with making.
but yes, we're good.
And do we have a properly worded motion that includes the pathway and the landscaping?
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Do you want it restated, Rachel? To include both?
What else do we have?
Anything else on Shay? Good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes,
everything
yeah,
to
thanks.
us.
Yeah.
It took a minute to wrap my head around to it.
Yeah. Okay, director's report.
That's fine. I don't see it. And
Thanks for
I had it.
coming. It's for your comments, yeah.
Thank you, listen, appreciate it. Anything,
Okay,
you know,
I don't think it's on.
Nah.
Now you can
I can go
make
through
up
it real
whatever you
quick.
want.
Yeah, I'll speak it up. I started Leaders Little Traverse today. So, hey,
Congratulations.
hey. So that'll be the third Tuesday. So our meetings are now the second Tuesday of the month at 5:30. This was technically a special meeting. And we closed for our maintenance position on Friday. To accept applications, so we're gonna start interviews. It's gonna be Lucas, Director of DPW, Becky Goodman from the GDA, now conducting the interviews. I'm hoping to get them all done next week and hire someone immediately. That's the plan, and that's to get them through Fall Fest, work with some of the maintenance we already have for the summer, kind of get them trained. What else?
The
is going on?
survey's in here, unless anybody has any further comments, I don't think anything changed.
Basically, the same.
The city clerk is gonna work to set up a meeting with the townships and I and him to sit down and discuss the cost sharing. But, so that's in the works. What else is going on? Close the quad's complete, M119 fence is complete.
Looks good.
Did you find out if the grasses were included in their contract?
I have to, that's on my list of things to do, is get a hold of David Hoffman. And I think that's,
Just FYI, everybody, they were supposed to be orange butterfly weed
Yeah.
instead of all purple butterfly bush, two different plants completely, so.
You were talking about it, but
State park.
State park, yeah, so I think the idea is that Lucas is gonna order some of the correct orange butterfly bush. We'll leave some of the purple,
Weed.
but add the
we're gonna order butterfly weed.
weed.
And take, that's okay, take some of the butterfly bush out and possible.
Use it along the
Yeah, we have
fence.
other places we can use it. It gets pretty massive, so. That's, is there any other discussion about the horses? No, I haven't gotten that far. We still have it.
Horses, what? Oh, yeah.
I understand that the orange fence at Shea Park belongs to the Historical Society.
Doesn't belong to the historical
But-
society. I thought it belonged to John Cup, so I asked him to fix it. And then he said it didn't belong to
Yeah, I
him.
know, I talked to him
So
about
it's
it.
someone else's
But
fence.
you know, it's
Yeah,
just,
no.
it's in a park
Yeah.
and we're the Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
And so I think most people think,
Yeah.
why isn't Parks and Rec
Yeah.
maintaining that fence?
I'll reach out to Kristen.
So I would
'Cause
like
I
to.
don't know when the locomotive's going in. I haven't heard an update either, so.
I
I'll
think
reach
there
out
was
to
some
her.
about engineering drawings being required after.
I know, they didn't
Okay.
have county approval drawings.
Oh, county permit.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oops.
Okay, but
And I also heard that there might be a delay of when it was supposed to arrive, because it was supposed to be
Cause
this
they were
fall.
working on it still.
And now, I heard.
To me, you know, it's an eyesore in a park, which reflects on us, you know, they don't
Okay.
think about.
Yeah, nothing else. DPW is gonna trim along the Little League fences. I don't know if anyone noticed, but grasses were pretty tall. Technically, per the Little League contract, that's on them. I did reach out to them. I told them we would do a favor this time around, and then next year we would reevaluate.
They have a cleanup day, October.
Yeah, we can't wait though. They haven't been trimmed since games, so.
Oh, I have a little update on Harbor View Park at Arbor Day on Saturday. I know you guys are. We did plant 3 new trees. So there's the elm tree that will be sort of, you know, in the middle, offset a little bit for shade, big area. And then a couple others between the park and where it looks so beautiful. So Rachel, I had a question about that too. What do we have to do to get irrigation?
Lucas. I'll talk to Lucas.
Okay.
I know he said he was gonna tree bag them. And they're gonna water them really heavily. while
Not
the-
just the
but
trees.
yeah, I
but
don't
the
know about
lawn looks-
irrigation,
It looks
yeah.
awful up there right
Yeah,
now.
I know.
One of the tree bags has a hole in it too. I went to return the canopies that were in the back of my car and, it was empty. So if you wanna let them know.
Other than that, we're all set.
Good. Good meeting, guys. Good. We are adjourned at.
All right.